Seems another fine little evening setting in upon us here. And to be honest, I'd really think you'd all be up for a little story of mine I'd actually like to let you all have a little listen to. Oh, and fun wee fact for all you all, this actually happens to be my first time on a video outside of, your little generic review. Whenever I was first brought into this atmosphere, this environment, this household, they all do, the little reviewing and uploading, and then they bring them on YouTube, So yes, my friends, just stop what you're doing, maybe even just relax a little bit. It's a Saturday, you're not necessarily working this day and time, and you're kind of supposed to take a little bit of a chill this day and time. So why don't you just, chill everything you're doing and just sit back and, have a little rethink of the day, let your mind process what's just happened in this chaotic, action-packed day. And it really does, for some reason, just looking out there at the little dark evening setting upon us on this very day. And it just kind of reminded me of the day when me and Orville went out to the city. There's just no reasoning for it, it's something that just naturally comes to my head. So just sit back and let me tell you. So it was just against me. Just me and my friend. We were just kind of going out for the day, We had a hard week. We had a little bit of things going on here and there, a little bit of difficulty, a little bit of stress kicking in at certain points at a time, but we got through it and we thought, Orville, don't you think it would be good fun for us all and a good bit of fresh air to give to our system if we just make ourselves out and have a good old day out in the town? He replied, oh yeah, absolutely, maybe take a little stroll around the town, maybe stop at a few restaurants, a few shops, But I'll remind you this before I go on any further. This wasn't, this was a experience that stayed with me. It stuck with me because of the main reason of it being that, it wasn't your normal day out. The stuff that I saw that day wasn't your normal. Let's just not jump the plot too quickly anyways, and let me just tell you it step by step. So me and Orville, we set out, we took a taxi, if I've actually remembered correctly, but my mind could just be telling me this. But if I'm not mistaken, I'm almost certain that we did take the taxi down. We, paid him his bucks, we got out, and, we met ourselves with all the lovely little atmosphere around us. And, it makes me think to myself, how much time does humans put into building all these structures? Like, it's really quite amusing if you ask me. It brings you into it, it sucks you into this new kind of world, and you're like, I'm in a rich environment. Anyways, you wanna know what happened? It was something that still kind of disgusts me today, It was something, I wouldn't expect to see it, but it happens anyways. So me and Orville, we set out, there was a little place, I can't remember what it was, but there was a little light show. What day was it? I'm pretty sure it was a weekend exclusive, if I'm not mistaken. And they had these little benches and these little pavement that had they had a lot of scrapes on them, people just walking by, scraping stuff on it. But the pavement wasn't the aesthetically pleasing area of it all. But what was indeed the lights. The benches themselves had a little bit of wear and tear, but they were, they were good enough. You could still sit there without them squeaking and creaking and, being uncomfortable and, almost at the brink of breaking. Wasn't that necessarily, it was just, a little bit of wear and tear there. But it was all good, and me and Orville, we took a little seat. I was on the left side and he was on the right, but it's actually hard to remember. All I do remember though, as a matter of fact, was the lights themselves. So me and Orville, we sat there, we actually waited a good bit, but it was actually 20 minutes after the light show was due, and we kind of wondered to ourselves, you think there's some sort of technical difficulties happening behind the scenes, Not everything is, to the normal people's eyes, you've got the technicians, doing things, behind the scenes. For example, you've got those, amusement rides, You see what you see, but you don't see the stuff behind it. You don't see the wiring, the technicians, the work, the scrapped content. There's so much that just doesn't meet the eye, and it's only stuff that a certain limited group of people get to experience. And I kind of wonder myself, you think there's some sort of problem with the lights, Orville? Maybe some sort of bug, maybe something unintentional that just kind of happens. He looked at me kind of confused, as if to say, this is a rich kind of place. they've gathered all of us people around here to watch this. Obviously, they would have it all set up and no chances whatsoever of failure. But it turns out the problem didn't lie in the technicians and the people behind it, but someone from the public. That's right. So what it was that happened was something about, well, we were there and there was this man, you know, he's quite short, you know, quite fat, you know, he's quite a man, and well, what he was actually doing is, you know, he was brewing up some trouble around the area, and what actually happened is that, well, he stopped in the shop, bought a box of eggs, you know, just your normal box of eggs, but not for eating purposes, but to throw them at the light show and just destroy the wiring and, you know, like, destroy it. And I don't know how someone could be so monstrous to do such a thing, you know? I don't know why that would cross someone's mind. I really don't, you know? Why would you want to destroy someone's work of art for your amusement? But, you know, we let it slide, and actually instead it was 20 past 8, the lights were due at 8 o'clock, and this was around the winter, so the events kind of came upon us a little bit quicker than you would in, you know, spring or summer. But I do mind, however, is that after that we did go into a center now. It was a leisure center, you see, so they had their fair share of, you know, activities and games. But I do mind some sort of drama happening behind the counter, you know. You just take a listen, alright? So me and Orville, we went in, we were gonna play some bowling, yeah? But we heard a little bit of shouting going on, you know? That's never something good. It's like, is there some sort of problem with the budgets? Is there something wrong with one of the customers? Is there some sort of outbreak, some sort of leak? You know, should we be here at this moment in time? But it turns out it was something about an employee getting fired, and, well, what came next is not what you really expect. So the employee that being fired, well, was accidentally kind of being featured on the radars because, well, you see, the person that be fired actually had, they decided they weren't done with their job yet without a little bit of revenge. So they were actually sneaking around the building. I didn't know that at the time, obviously. Me and Orville were just enjoying ourselves. We weren't too fussed on what was happening around us, you know. So we were rolling the bowling balls, knocking down your skittles, your normal game, until, you know, we heard a little bit of thumping under the floorboards, you know, and it sounded kind of odd, you know. Pipe work, some sort of electricity, fusing, you know, something pumping down there. But it didn't sound like a machine, it sounded more like a noise we're all familiar with, but it's hard to kind of point on a scene where you can kind of point out and, you know, say that exact noise. But what it actually turned out to be was, well, the employee was somehow able to sneak into the pipe system and was, well, breaking the pipes. So me and Orville, we still weren't aware, but we heard all the people shouting and running out. We just thought, you know, your chaotic families, you know, you know, a lot of families are quite chaotic, you know. There's so much happening. It's just, you know, you've got the kids running about doing a bit of, you know, the crazy stuff, you know. Let's go with something like that. But all the employees were in out as well, and, you know, I didn't know what was thinking, and I just kind of followed the crowd. But then all of a sudden, before we got out, yeah, before anyone even happened to get out, there was so much leaking, you know, from the other room of the boiling. There was all the boiler pipes and they were all pumping, but they weren't pumping out, you know, the normal kind of fuse. They were pumping out water that was spraying all over the place. Oh, it was quite a night, wasn't it? Anyways, so when we went back, you know, we were going to go home, but we went back into. We actually managed to sneak through. We were very strong, and also we broke a window, and, you know, we made a grand escape before any of the humans could. So we decided a few minutes later to go back and, you know, see what happened with the leaks and stuff. And we went back in and we saw the water, you know, it was still there and all, but it was red rather than, you know, the color water. So we were all confused. We were wondering where the crowd went. The crowd hadn't have broke out the window because, well, we made it just a little secretive enough gap that no one was near us. We broke out a certain area. Everyone else was at the front exit. Nobody was there. There was no bodies or anything. It was just, you know, people were just there. There was no bodies. And, you know, Orville kind of looked at me. What happens to the people? I was like, I think the people are dead, Orville.